the spotlight now falling on Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. Questions popping up about what she knew and when about a massive COVID fraud scheme in her district. Talking billions, could be billions, at least $1 billion, could go higher. Mike Tobin's got more on that now. Mike, good morning to you. What do you have?
Good morning, Bill. And as you mentioned, Minnesota Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar has been in the crosshairs. She made the statement that there were insufficient guardrails to defrauded programs like Feed the Future. Speaking on Face the Nation, she defended against the fact that all but a handful of the suspects and convicts in this case are from Minnesota's Somali community.
This also has an impact on Somalis because we are also taxpayers in Minnesota. We also could have benefited from the program and the money that was stolen. And so it's been really frustrating for people to not acknowledge the fact that we're also, as Minnesotans, as taxpayers, really upset and angry about the fraud that has occurred.
Analysts with whom we have been speaking say it's unlikely Omar would not have some exposure to the corruption. She introduced a legislation that created the program that was defrauded to the tune of $250 million. She also held a victory party in 2018 at a restaurant called Safari, owned by Salim Ahmed Saeed, a major player convicted in the scheme.
I think all this will be investigated very thoroughly because there's really a national spotlight on Minnesota and all its problems. I mean, this is a scandal that is by far the biggest in state history.
White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller said on Friday the Somali fraud will prove to be the greatest theft of taxpayer dollars through welfare in U.S. history. And he says we have only begun to scratch the surface of how bad it is.
Perfect. Well done, Jerry. We want to stay in the Christmas meme motif for all of December. We are Christmas maxing on this program. We were Christmas maxing with the vice president this weekend. Very excited about that. We'll give you a quick update and some very big things coming. Why not? Why not? Let's just pop on over. JD Vance threw a Christmas rager with Sylvester Stallone. We were honored to be there, got a chance to connect with JD on a ton of very exciting things that lie ahead for our movement, for our nation. Ladies and gentlemen, the future looks bright. It was an incredible event. Not much else to say. JD Vance told some pretty hilarious Donald Trump jokes off the top. Do we have those? We'll play them later in the show. Those went viral, and the food was excellent. JD Vance has great taste in catering. There was Rocky. Sylvester Stallone was there. Got a chance to shake his hand and a chance to eat some Rocky cookies that they had. It was an awesome night. It is our honor to bring you along with us through this glorious Christmas season, Monday, December 8th, 2025. Somali illegal migrant fraudster photographed with Ilhan Omar, Tim Waltz of Minnesota, arrested by ICE as all of the Minnesota fraud unravels. And speak of unraveling, Ukraine is in a state of total and complete collapse. I'm going to cover that off the top because we just thought that fraud and frauds would be a good subject matter and topic for this program, since there's a lot of that going on right now. Chairman Jim Jordan will be joining the show. There's also a critical election for the Miami mayoral race. So Emilio Gonzalez, who's running for that very important mayoral office, will be joining us. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. We have some very non-Christmassy news for you. And it's just a statement that I feel like I have to make right now. I want to pop up another mugshot, one of many, of a man whose name is Andrew Ayar. This individual was arrested for violent, threatening, stalking, direct threats of murder and violence against influencers and podcasters. This man showed up at my home where my wife and children live, ranting and raving about me. My wife had to barricade herself in our house as he skulked around our property and then went door to door, knocking on my neighbors' doors, asking where I was. It looked like he was armed. And as he terrorized the neighborhood, I was at work. I was here at the studio. I left immediately. He fled before the cops got there. I don't know what this was. I know there are multiple other pending criminal cases for people threatening to kill us, to kill my family, to widow my wife, orphan my children. And this is one of many. He showed up at Cat Turd's house. You might know Cat Turd. He is a big-time influencer on X. He had direct threats that he was going to find Matt Walsh, his wife, and his children and murder all of them. He was also going to go to Laurel Loomer's house. He said this directly to the authorities. And thank God, I just want to say, for the FBI and the DOJ. Let's talk about God for a second. We wear the full armor of God at this program. And so we don't fear death. God is the author of life and death. It's something that I've had to come to the reality with over the past year, watching my president get shot in the head. With the full security protection of the Secret Service, as diminished as they were, Charlie Kirk, my friend, get killed. And I'm a firm believer in the laws of thermodynamics. Energy is neither created or destroyed, equal and opposite reaction, Newtonian physics and so on. And with Charlie's death came a release of very good and positive energy, very positive statistics about church and young people and attendance and belief in God. But there's also a release of darkness. And this I do not understand. I don't know where it comes from, but it is ripping our movement apart. People attacking a widow, people desecrating this man and trying to destroy his legacy. Charlie, I don't understand it. I don't get it. It is evil. It's demonic. And it's important for Christians to speak out against it. And I've become sick over the fact that there has been so much tearing at our movement from the inside, from the outside. I want unity that Charlie brought, that won us this election. That's why I have the map behind us. And it'll probably never come down in the studio. But there is evil. And I'm sure you can feel it. It was always going to happen. But we are going to fight on behalf of truth. I'm going to fight on behalf of my family. I'm not going to allow my family to be threatened, maliciously defamed, physically attacked. I am also going to continue as a crusader for truth, to fight as hard as we possibly can on behalf of the values that Charlie stood for. And as somebody who worked closely with him, all I can say is that guy talked about what he wanted his true legacy to be way more than any 20-year-old or 30-year-old ever should have. And we have those clips, and they're clear as day. I want to be remembered for the advancement of the kingdom of Christ. And that is what Charlie said again and again and again, because that's really at the core of all of this. And so, no, we don't fear death. No, we don't fear any attacks. It's part of the business, quite frankly. Easy to ignore or to smack down. The one thing that we do fear is being on the wrong side of God. And so that is why every single day before this show, we put on the full armor of God, say a prayer with my pastor, our verse of the day, and we shield ourselves, especially in this time of Christmas, from the darkness that seems to be running wild right now. And so I pray that for you as well, that you are not demoralized, that you are uplifted, that you feel protected in this holy season. It's obviously a time that the evil one who wants to steal, kill, and destroy would like to do that to you and to those people who are continuing to fight for these values that we hold dear. We're not going to quit. So once again, just pop up the mugshot. It's one of many. One of many. It's real out there. And so I just say enough. Like enough. Darkness versus light. Good versus evil. The light will win and shine even brighter. In the end, we win, ladies and gentlemen. So, carrying forward into the show, just a reminder that this is what we're fighting for. Ladies and gentlemen, the power and energy to fight, as you know, and we talk about virtually every single show in our brand new Benny Brigade mug, Blackout Coffee. The American dream has been built on caffeine, has been built on men who want to fight communists, need the energy to do so. Blackout Coffee fills our cup every single day and ensures that we are ready to rock in the morning. Been up since early morning. Not sure exactly how many cups I've had today, but ladies and gentlemen, it is great coffee. It tastes like real coffee. Hard work and American values are what built this company and every good company. And same with Blackout. The backbone of Blackout Coffee is just great coffee that tastes like coffee. You should get some today for those long Christmas mornings with the family. Blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Use the code Benny for 20% off your first order. Support the American dream and drink Blackout. Blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Stop settling and start drinking real coffee. All right. So I promised you a JD Vance joke that did go viral off our page this weekend. And so here it is. JD Vance telling his story off the top, and then we'll move off from Christmas content here into content of mass fraud and nation collapse. It's a great Christmas topic for us. Here is JD Vance, ladies and gentlemen, telling a hysterical Donald Trump story in a way that only he could. Let's go.
I want to talk about Sly and all his great accomplishments and why we're gathered here to celebrate him. But I want to first say, people often ask me what it's like to be the Vice President of the United States. And a lot of it is exactly what you would expect it to look like if you watched on TV or just paid attention to the media. But sometimes you get these behind-the-scenes moments that I will never, ever forget for the rest of my life. So, for example, today I'm in the Oval Office with the President of the United States and our great Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and we're talking about something really, really important. And the President kind of holds up his hand and says, no, hold on a second. There's something much more important. Shoes. And he peers over the Resolute desk and he says, Marco, JD, you guys have shitty shoes. We gotta get you better shoes. So he goes out and grabs a catalog. There happens to be another politician in the room. I won't say who, and you'll find out why in a second. And he actually runs us through this incredible shoe catalog. And by the way, the President is gifting us with 4 pairs of shoes. And I think 4 pairs for Marco. And he's actually asking our size in the middle of this conversation. He's asking for our size so that he can make sure that we get the right shoes. And he asked this other politician, he said, I'm going to get you some shoes too. And so he says, Marco, what's your shoe size? And Marco's apparently an 11.5. He says, JD, what's your shoe size? My shoe size is 13. And he asked this politician, who I won't embarrass, what his shoe size is, and he says 7. The president, he kind of leans back in his chair and says, you know, you can tell a lot about a man by his shoe size.
The entire internet asked, who was the politician with the size 7 shoe? Was it Mike Johnson? Was it Lindsey Graham? There were plenty of people speculating. What do you think? Let me know in the chat. Also in the chat, are you going to be sad when Zelensky resigns? This is our first story at the top of the hour today. Zelensky has been turned on by the corporate media. Ukraine's Zelensky is in a state of total and complete collapse and potential resignation. I mean, that's what many people are speculating from inside of Ukraine. Let's cover all of the reporting here from the New York Times and the Associated Press, which are, by the way, the propaganda channels for Zelensky. There is no more stable organ inside of the corporate media for the wholesale spending and pushing a further war in Ukraine than the New York Times. The New York Times was the key agitation and salespeople for the destruction of Ukraine. And by the way, if you look at the population charts, they really have destroyed that country. They've destroyed it. Okay, yeah, got it. Thank you. I'm getting the archive up right now. So the New York Times here in this article, it's a very long article, it's like 4,000 words, but it goes into how Zelensky has been proven to be a fraudster. Now, this is not going to come as a surprise to you. Obviously, we're sending billions over there. How did we ensure that our money was going to be well spent? Well, Zelensky was supposed to institute independent boards in order to ensure that the single most corrupt country in the world wasn't looting and profiting from the dollars that were meant to keep their young men from dying. Well, all their young men are dead. Again, hey, Alex, would you mind searching for that? Or Jack or Danny, can you find that population chart for Ukraine? You find that chart that shows just the complete and total decimation. When I say the Ukrainian people are done for a generation, I mean, it's making me very sad. It's like the most cripplingly sad thing I will probably ever show you on this show. It's the complete and total gutting of Ukrainians that are of childbearing age that would go off and fight in a war. They're gone. They're just gone. You can see it in the line chart of age demographic breakdown. They vanished because of this war. It's terrible. When I say the Ukrainian people are over, I mean, that's what I mean. But also Zelensky may be over. Again, many people saying he's going to resign after this because first, he's lost his chief of staff, Andrei Yermak. Andrei Yermak is the right-hand man to Zelensky. He was forced to resign after getting raided by anti-corruption forces. They went and raided his home, his office, his government building, and they took everything. Tucker Carlson says that Andrei Yermak has committed $100 million worth of fraud at least. After that prediction, after Tucker tweeting that, the dude got raided like 4 days later. Tucker knows, man. And then here, they're starting to now circle the wagons and say, with Zelensky's government going down one by one. I mean, there's 70 members of his party, by the way, that were also raided in this. That gets sort of caught in the headlines. But 70 members of his party are implicated now in the fraud scheme, Zelensky running a criminal enterprise now provable. Let's read really quickly here from the New York Times. When the Russian troops invaded Ukraine, Western allies faced a dilemma. How do you spend billions without seeing the money vanish into the pocket of corrupt managers? The stakes were very high in Ukraine's vital wartime industries, power distribution, weapons purchase, nuclear energy. They were all controlled by state-owned companies. The country's elite could plunder the money. So This is why Western allies and European nations insisted on oversight. They required Ukraine to allow groups of outside experts and supervisory boards to monitor the spending. Of course, those boards were never established, allowing graft to flourish. President Volodymyr Zelensky's administration stacked boards with loyalists, left seats empty, or stalled them from being set up at all. Leaders in Kyiv even rewrote company charters to limit oversight, keeping the government in control, allowing hundreds of millions of dollars to be spent without outsiders poking around. Supervisory boards serve as an essential oversight function, allowing independent experts, typically from countries, to scrutinize major decisions. So now, it's wild, there are multiple named companies, like the nuclear power company here, that is accused of siphoning off at least $100 million from the state-owned nuclear power company Euratom. Euratom is the name of the company. $100 million for just one company. Multiply that across multiple state-owned organs and the entire government itself, and all the weapons and R&D and procurement, and you have billions of dollars, as we have expected for a very long time, of fraud and waste and theft. In documents and interviews with about 20 Western and Ukrainian officials who have worked closely with company boards and served with them, the Times found political interference not only at Engerotatum, but also state-owned electricity companies, Ukrengro, as well as Ukraine's Defense Procurement Agency, and some people spoke on the condition of anonymity, discussed confidential deliberations. An advisor to Zelensky declined to comment. The supervisory boards were not the president's responsibility. Okay. What you can see here is, and as you scroll through the article, you can see this like very thorough breakdown in the New York Times of exactly how the fraud worked. We don't have time to read all of it right now, but let's just say this is a demonstrable report, and we hear, little birdies tell us, that this is just one of many. When they've decided that Zelensky needed outside pressure to end the war, when they decided that Zelensky is no longer their man, when they decided that the corruption, the graft has like clearly stopped trickling back to the people who are getting paid, well, they were always going to do this to Zelensky. Zelensky was always going to go the way of Gaddafi. And that's what's happening right here. This is why the New York Times, effectively the wall of protection for Zelensky, has now cracked and cratered. Here's the AP, ladies and gentlemen. This is really bad news when it is the corporate media that has decided to turn on the Ukrainian thieves that they have enabled. Zelensky's chief of staff resigns after anti-corruption investigators search his home, raid his home. Many are saying here, speculating Zelensky ordered to resign, forced out in handcuffs if he refuses. Ukrainian members of parliament, Artem Ducherik, dropped a political bombshell saying effectively that he has been ordered to resign by the powers that be. Senior officials have been dismissed, replacements blocked, parliament paralyzed, budget unable to pass, Western support collapsing, and the final blow, Washington has officially accused Zelensky regime of stealing U.S. taxpayer dollars. This was, of course, happening in the open. Don't be stupid. They knew that this was going to happen. They knew about this the entire time. They just allowed it to continue because they're bloodthirsty monsters. I don't know exactly. You know, the stance of this program is that we are against forever war. We are against forever wars that we are fighting in, that other nations are fighting in. They decimate the populations. I don't know if we have the population graphs or not, but you can see that like Ukraine, it wasn't this when I was looking at the, you know, I was looking at sort of the hourglass. There it is. I think so. Yeah. Impact of the war on Ukraine's population structure. Gray showing losses of population. Goodness gracious, look at that. So you're seeing just a complete and total collapse of young people. They've just decimated an entire, like huge percentages, third, fourth of childbearing populations. It has been devastating. It's evil. Don Jr. and Donald Trump both speaking out. There's a good one. That's the one that I was looking for. Look at that. Goodness gracious. Look at the dip. You should see it should be a Christmas tree structure. Because up at the top you have older people. Then down at the bottom, you should have all the like younger people that are there to support the older people as the older people like pass on. And look at there, the hourglass shape showing the loss of women and men in the prime childbearing age years. That is devastating for a population. Don Jr. saying it's over. I've personally witnessed all the corruption in Ukraine. Check this out.
One of the most amazing things I got to witness, I was this summer with my beautiful girlfriend Bettina in Monaco, and we were driving around, and on an average day, 50% of the supercars, the Bugattis, the Ferraris, this, all had Ukrainian plates. Do we think that was actually earned in Ukraine? I'd been to Ukraine 20 years ago. It wasn't like there was a plethora of wealth there. And yet, you see the number 2 there getting arrested for stealing hundreds of millions of dollars. You hear all the rumors about what's going on. When I see every license plate on a supercar in Monaco being Bugattis, the rich fled. They let what they believed to be the peasant class fight these wars. And there was no incentive to stop, because as long as the money train was coming and they were stealing it and no one was auditing anything, the leaders, the decision makers, there was no reason for them to ever come to peace. No different than Putin. It wasn't the son of oligarchs that were fighting these wars. It's someone from Siberia that they're sending there. And he utilized the war to rebuild his manufacturing base. It was very clear that the sanctions that we put on did nothing to actually help. All it did was jack up the price of oil, which allowed him to basically pay for the war with the delta between the two while building up his manufacturing base. There was no incentive for anyone to ever get to the table. Zelensky knew he wouldn't win another election again, and they were continuing to steal. Putin was building up his manufacturing base, and all we had in the wake was millions of young men dying for nothing.
Dying for nothing. Have we had enough of that? Have we had enough of that evil? Like, as a Christian, are you just against that evil? Like, killing is against our religion? So many people trying to use political violence in order to get their ends, either with war or assassination culture. So can we like draw a line and say we're done with that? And it's like so important and imperative when it comes to these forever wars, because it just, as we can show you in the graph, it just literally decimates entire peoples and nations. This is what happened, of course, through the last century, World War I, World War II. People are like, where'd all the white population go in the nations? And the white population was about 36% of the world's population at the turn of the century. Now it's dwindled down to about 8%. What happened there? Well, there's a lot, obviously. Abortion, birth control pill, westernized egalitarian societies that do not promote or encourage parenthood, having children. But I would argue that a huge portion of that population collapse were world wars that took millions and millions and millions of childbearing aged people in the primes of their lives and slaughtered them all. So that's how it is, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why we're against it. We've been against this war. We're not pro-Russia. We're not pro-Ukraine. We are pro-America. And the best American outcome to this war is that we stop funding it entirely and this killing stops. This is what President Trump said yesterday. He said he's very disappointed in Zelensky. You can see all of the forces turning against Zelensky. Here we go.
About Ukraine talks. What's your next step in Russia-Ukraine talks after last week's negotiations?
So we've been speaking to President Putin, and we've been speaking to Ukrainian leaders, including Zelensky, President Zelensky. And I have to say that I'm a little bit disappointed that President Zelensky hasn't yet read the proposal. That was as of a few hours ago. His people love it, but he hasn't. Russia's fine with it. Russia's, Russia, I guess, would rather have the whole country when you think of it. But Russia is, I believe, fine with it. But I'm not sure that Zelensky's fine with it. His people love it, but he hasn't read it. So someday you'll explain that one to me, Jeff.
I don't have an explanation, sir.
Trump pissed. Trump's pissed. Have you tried saying thank you? Ladies and gentlemen, it is not going to end well for Zelensky. I'm just predicting that right now. I'm also predicting that you need Chef IQ for your Christmas cooking. Obviously, you are going to be making a Christmas turkey, a Christmas ham. We do a prime rib roast. These are tough roasts to get. These are tough cuts of meat. Prime rib roast, like 14 pounds. How do you tell whether it's done or not? Chef IQ is a wireless thermometer, one of those annoying wires that are actually not that accurate, that come in and out of your oven. The wireless thermometer is the single most accurate tell of temperature, and that's the only way actually to make sure that that cut of steak, chicken, turkey, that big bird, or that big roast is done perfectly. You have to get the internal temperature. It's a perfect gift for the dads in your life, the men in your life, for the grillers in your life. Chef IQ Sense, the wireless cooking thermometer, is now available for 30% off during their Black Friday sale. This is an excellent product. I'm telling you, I use it when I'm home doing the full prime rib roast. I will take a photo and show everyone. It's so awesome to have these wireless thermometers. You can make sure that you can cook. I have 4 different ones that come in the pack that I have, and you can make sure that you are cooking on all fronts, making a feast like I intend to on Christmas Day. Get all of your shopping done and make the holiday the best yet with Chef IQ's Black Friday sale. Again, 30% off. Chef IQ, use promo code Benny for 30% off. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a concurrent unraveling fraud scandal from a nation that is known for fraud in Somalia. We are now finding that let's just say the snare is tightening for Ilhan Omar. Seems to be caught closer and closer as you start to peel the onion layer back. The fraud, including a Somali illegal migrant fraudster, photographed with her, worked on her campaign, now been arrested by ICE since he had a removal order against him since 2004. It's kind of interesting when you check out Ilhan Omar's net worth. It really does beg a question like, what exactly is going on here? She arrived in America with zero wealth. Remember, she is an impoverished migrant. Yet, even though she entered Congress with negative wealth, she has now ballooned her net worth in just 5 short years to $30 million. So from negative wealth to $30 million. Remarkable. How exactly did that happen? Well, you can see here the photos of the fraudster with various members of the Democrat Party in Minnesota, including Ilhan Omar, as you can also see him campaigning for Ilhan Omar here, holding up her yard sign. It does beg the question, how much did she know about this? Again, we have a whistleblower that has come, it's not like a whistleblower, but it's somebody with inside information that says they have, like DHS has dead to rights, that Ilhan Omar did commit multiple immigration frauds in order to bring her family over here in chain migration, did marry her brother, that they do have the documentation. President Trump very strategic on when he drops these kind of things. Will they ever drop these kind of things? I'm not exactly sure. Here's the update on Democrat Somali fraud.
Well, here's the level of fraud investigators are finding in Minnesota is growing by the day. Kelly Loeffler, who leads the Small Business Administration, says in the 2 days her agency has been investigating the state, they've uncovered at least $1 million in PPP fraud just 2 days in. Several of the whistleblowers in Minnesota have also told lawmakers they believe the total amount of fraud could total up to more than $8 billion. Governor Tim Walz, who is up for re-election, is under fire for all of this happening under his watch. But he says they have paused these programs. They've brought in outside auditors to get an idea of how far-reaching this fraud was. They're taking steps to keep it from happening again. And he's defending his management of the state while also taking shots at Republicans and the president.
And in spite of the headwinds we're up against, Minnesota ranks economically, economic growth, happiness, number of people insured, education levels, near the very top. So I'll tell you what, I have no interest in having this state look like Oklahoma or Mississippi. And if folks are going to commit crimes here, thinking because our generous spirit and our programs that we have is going to give them some kind of cover, they are sadly mistaken.
Yeah, Minnesota is also now home to the single largest pandemic fraud scheme in the country. And Republicans argue that Walz and other Democrats opened the door to this by offering such generous social welfare benefits without any real protections against fraud, and then ignored warnings about that fraud because they didn't want to lose the support of the Somali community.
The whistleblowers that I've spoken to are saying that the governor knew, and the governor and lieutenant governor and even Chris Schmitter, who was his chief of staff, came to them as staff and scolded them for pointing out fraud.
Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar told CNN this week she believes the fraud spiraled out of control because COVID programs were rolled out without sufficient guardrails. It's also worth noting the owner of the restaurant where Omar held her 2018 victory party is among those from the Somali community who have been convicted of profiting from the schemes.
Ladies and gentlemen, joining us from the great white north, not exactly as north as Minnesota, but Ohio, part of the Midwest, whose name is being muddied right now and being lied on by the state of Minnesota, the great Jim Jordan, to sound off. Let's go. Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for being on the program. I don't like the Midwest getting this rep. We are not fraudsters in the Midwest. Where I come from, you like leave your jacket or like leave your phone or leave your laptop in a restaurant. Like you can come back that night and it'll still be there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Ohio's not Minnesota. So look, when you're talking about potentially billions of dollars, I really appreciate the fact that Chairman Comer and the Oversight Committee and committee I happen to be a part of, that we're going to look into this and see what we can find. But this is starting, as we just saw, as you just played, this is starting to add up to like, wow, this is real. I think a couple of problems. One, when you throw this much money out there, the potential for fraud is real. I mean, this is what the Biden administration did, just kept sending money out with these COVID programs. And then two, it looks like, based on what we've seen so far, that the governor and his team, they really didn't want to dig into this. Were there political concerns, political reasons why they didn't want to, pay no attention to what you see behind the curtain, nothing going on there, that they took that attitude? At least that's what it appears. We'll find out as our investigation unfolds.
So what is Ilhan Omar's potential tie-up with all of this? She has great connections and what seems to be large structural connections to some of the fraud organizations, the Feed the Children group, some of these restaurants that were overcharging PPP. There's also an enormous amount of Medicaid fraud that has just been charged by the DOJ. What do you think will happen with Ilhan Omar? She's out right now saying that effectively Somalis are the victims here, and doing her best to lie on this issue.
I mean, we'll find out. I mean, that's why you do investigations, is to get to the truth. There's all kinds of things swirling out there right now, but we'll dig in there and we'll get to the truth, and then we'll see what the Justice Department does, if anything here. But I do think it was interesting that graph you put up. I think it was, I don't know if you tweeted or someone tweeted it, where it showed her net worth over the last looks like the last 6, 7, 8 years increased dramatically. I don't know how that happens. And if that's accurate, that is certainly a concern. I just don't, I don't know how accurate that is, but if it is accurate, I think that's something you got to look into as well.
Are you in favor of banning stock trading for members of Congress?
I don't trade stocks personally, so I've not weighed in on it. But if that vote, that bill comes up, I would support it.
Would you be in favor of Congress passing? I mean, because this has been like a major question that we've had about the relocation of the Somali populations into such tight bubbles in American cities to like change them inextricably and forever. And this happened in Ohio with Haitian populations. Obviously, this was a big problem leading up to the election. How does Congress like make rules to try and prevent that? What is sort of the approach right now with the Republicans in the House towards immigration reform?
Well, I think you got to look at it as far as the national policy immigration reform. You know, we had the bill last Congress which reformed how our asylum law works, a better standard than just this defining credible fear in an appropriate way. We dealt with the Flores decision. We dealt with border security. Of course, this Congress, President Trump, and the work that we have done in the big, beautiful bill, the border is now secure. I mean, it largely was secure with President Trump in his first 3-4 months in office. And then we allocated resources so that there are the resources there to make sure the border stays secure. So we're Congress's national policy. I don't think you want to get into specific policy about where people can live, where they can settle. I think that is a local concern. Our job is to make sure our immigration laws are done right. We fix some of the various visas we have. We have all these visas. I think there's some work that we can still do there. But right now, of course, the main thrust of last year's election, main issue was securing the border, and that has been done. I think that's a huge compliment to President Trump in his ability to do what he said he was going to do.
Yeah, I say this Republican majority, but it's getting knocked down one member at a time, and now there's rumors that there's going to be a bunch of other retirements that may put into threat the actual Republican majority in the House. What's actually going to happen? You're in a lot of these meetings. You're very close with leadership. Is this actually going to happen? I mean,
No.
Punch Bowl's out saying there's going to be 20 resignations.
No, that's not going to happen. Look, we've had a couple. We just had a big win last week. Matt Van Epps, great candidate. I actually supported early on in the primary, 10-way primary. We endorsed him early. Great guy, West Point grad, helicopter pilot, kind of guy you want coming into Congress and carrying out the agenda that the American people elected President Trump and us to do. So I think we'll be fine. Now, the midterms are always tough. Everyone knows this. When you're the party in power in the White House, midterms elections are typically difficult for that party. But I think we can prevail for a number of reasons. One is the big, beautiful bill will start to take effect. I mean, the tax cuts and the regulatory reform, all the good things we did in there, I think people are going to start feeling that the component in the tax code that encourages school choice, empowering moms and dads to send their kid to the best school, the school that they think is going to give them the best education. That is all good. I think second is just the idea that, remember, not all Democrats are crazy, but the left that controls their party is. They still have all these crazy positions on issues. You know, they want to defund the police. They want to have an open border. They want men to compete against women in sports, and on you can go. So I think you can still point out we're the party of common sense. They're the party of crazy. We have good candidates like Matt Van Epps. The big, beautiful bill kicks in. And then finally, I think what helps us in these upcoming midterms is President Trump. His energy, his ability to go to key districts, to turn out the vote, to do the telephone town halls, just like he did for Matt last week in that race in Tennessee. I think that's the thing that will allow us to sort of defy history and maintain the majority in the House of Representatives.
Yeah, as chairman, you obviously are somebody who has been driving for oversight and transparency for now the better part of decades. I'm not sure how successful DC has been of coughing up its secrets, but there is something that broke just last week that, well, it shocked, I guess, the world. The January 6th pipe bomber, something that we've talked about pretty extensively on this show, something that sort of broke a lot of people's ideas about what was potentially going on here. Seems very confusing. It seems like the information is getting muddled. The media's out saying he was a Trump supporter. His family's out saying he wasn't. What's going on here? What was your initial reaction here to Brian Cole?
Yeah, I think the main takeaway is just good old-fashioned police work, and that Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and this Justice Department actually did their job and found and told us who this individual is. You know, all during the Biden administration, I used to say it sort of half joking, but there was, you know, like in any good humor, there's some truth behind it. It was like, who planted the pipe bomb, who leaked the draft opinion on the Dobbs decision, and who put cocaine at the White House? And the Biden administration could never give us answers to any of those questions. Well, here we have the Trump administration, the Bondi and Patel Justice Department saying we found the guy who did this. Now, almost 5 years ago. So this, I think, is that to me is the key takeaway. We'll find out all the details about this individual, why he did this terrible thing. But I think the real takeaway is Kash Patel and his team were able to do good old-fashioned work, the kind of work the FBI is supposed to do, and find this guy versus the kind of thing we saw with, Director Wray and the Garland Justice Department, which was the weaponization of the Justice Department against we the people.
How could they have missed this guy?
I don't know. I don't know. We've been looking at this. We've been asking question after question, asking for information. But Ray, I mean, the one thing you can sort of take away from Chris Wray is he never really gave us all the information that we should have received, as evidenced by all the things we're now getting from Director Patel. I will look at the Catholic memorandum in the Richmond field office where they said pro-life Catholics are extremists in this memo. We asked for all the information, and Director Wray said, "Oh, you've got it all." Well, Director Patel gets in there, and we get all kinds of additional information that contradicts things Ray told us, like that it was an isolated incident in this just one Richmond field office, when in fact it was in multiple field offices around the country. So that to me was, again, another key takeaway, is just night and day compared to Ray and Garland versus what we now have in Director Patel and Attorney General Bondi.
You're bringing in Jack Smith for a deposition, right?
Yeah.
You're putting him under oath. What do you think you're going to learn?
Well, we've already deposed 3 of his deputies. One of them we actually referred for criminal indictment to the Justice Department because we felt he was totally obstructing our investigation. So we're going to bring Mr. Smith in. We've received a number of communications and documents that are important before you bring him in for a deposition. So we're looking forward to that. I think one of the key questions is, why did you wait until the Speaker of the House, Speaker McCarthy, became Speaker before you went back and subpoenaed his information? I mean, what was that all about? They got 2 months of his call records. Who he called, who called him, when the call took place, how long the call lasted. And if Speaker McCarthy initiated the call, they knew where he was located when he did so. Well, you can track and pattern an individual's life over a 2 month. They did it for me for 2.5 years, for goodness sake. So I think that's a line of question. Why all these members of Congress did you go get their call logs and text message data, not the actual message, but when those messages took place and who they were texting? Why did you go get that? And again, for the Speaker, they did it after he became Speaker, and this was supposed to be about January 6th, which was 3 years prior, for goodness sake. So I think there's a number of questions we have for Mr. Smith. We'll have him in a deposition now in 10 days, and we're looking forward to that.
Yeah. Well, Merry Christmas to Jack Smith. So let it snow. Chairman Jordan, you mentioned the cocaine at the White House. You've made some news on our program talking about this issue. Are we ever going to find anything about who left the cocaine at the White House? Is that case completely dead? Is the FBI have any evidence there? Does the Secret Service has any evidence? Apparently it was at an FBI lab in Quantico. The cocaine samples, are they gone?
I don't know. We've been as we talked about, we've been focused on Mr. Smith and this investigation and looking into his deputies and everyone else. We can double check on that, but it's been a while since we've inquired. I just remember saying that last Congress, like, why don't we know anything about now? And frankly, the Dobbs decision as well. Remember that led, because of that leak, we had an assassination attempt on one of our Supreme Court justices, Justice Kavanaugh, and the amount of security that the Supreme Court had to have in the aftermath of that. Who leaked that? That has never happened. It's not supposed to happen. So you would think we would know. You would think we would know who put cocaine at the White House too. I think you and I have an idea who it might have been, but maybe we'll never know who. We'll see.
Still nothing. Just in closing here, there was a little bit of a brouhaha between Elise Stefanik and Mike Johnson about some legislation that would prevent spying from our intel agencies on presidential candidates. Yeah. Could you please explain what happened there? And 2 ships passing in the night. What was that about? What was the result? It seems like the result was satisfactory to Elise.
Yeah, no, this is good. This is good legislation. This is a good proposal that is going to stay in the bill. I supported it 100%. Particularly, you think about all the weaponization we've uncovered and what we've been focused on stopping. And frankly, as I said, what happened to me and others when the Justice Department goes and gets your phone logs, for goodness sake. So I thought this was a good provision. Looks like it's going to stay in. I think there was some confusion with what Mr. Raskin wanted, which shouldn't frankly have carried much weight at all. This should stay in, and it looks like it's going to stay in. So I appreciate Lisa's work on this now for a long time, and of course the Speaker's willingness to make sure it stays in the National Defense Authorization legislation, which is a big bill that's slated to pass later this week.
We hope it does. We really like that legislation, and we're just like with the FISA reform, it gets very frustrating when Republicans can't just deliver on these critical issues that we talk a lot about, but nothing.
Benny, that's a great. I'm glad you brought that up because that comes up for reauthorization, the FISA 702 program in April. So we're having a hearing on it in 2 days in one of our subcommittees. This is really important, and the key provision here is, if the government's going to search this database of information, this what I call this giant haystack of information, we believe they should go to a court, go to a separate and equal branch of government, and get a probable cause warrant to search your information. They're going to use Benny Johnson's name, phone number, or email address to search this database. They need to go get a warrant. And so we lost that legislation 212 to 212, tie vote in the House 2 years ago. This is important that we get this passed as part of the reauthorization. So we're already starting to work on that. But it fits in with what Elise was doing here. And this idea, you got to tell people if you're going to go investigate. It can't be some secret investigation you're doing into President Trump, like we saw with the whole dossier, and using that as the basis to go to the FISA court and get a warrant and all the crazy stuff they did. So it's all part of that. But this issue is going to be, I think, in the news as we move into the new year. And so we're starting a hearing, like I said, this Wednesday.
So FISA reform will finally pass, because I remember Mike Johnson being the key vote that voted actually against the reform, and it failed. So you're saying that this is going to hold this time?
I hope so, and that's what we're working on. We're already starting to work with the Intelligence Committee in the House to see if there's a way we can get this in the base bill that has to be reauthorized come April.
Okay, all right. Well, John Ratcliffe at the CIA, I'm sure will be speaking plenty with him about this. We hope that both of these things happen. This is why people elected Republicans, why people elect Jim Jordan from the great state of Ohio. Nearly 7 million subscribers here on X. You should be one of them. A subscriber to our show wanted us to ask you in closing, who is going to win the NCAA national championships this year? Chairman Jordan.
It looks like it'll be Penn State again, but Ohio State's tough. And I don't know if you happen to watch that match. I know you're a big Iowa wrestling fan, but Iowa State duel a week ago Sunday. So I guess 8 days ago. Great dual meet. Great. It was a big snowstorm, and they still brought in like 10,000 crazy fans there in Ames and watched at Hilton Coliseum and watched a great match. So I think, but there's a number of good teams. Nebraska's good. Of course, Penn State, Ohio State, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, and of course Iowa University is always good.
You gonna be there this year with the president?
We're planning on it. It's in Cleveland this year, so we're looking at that. Yeah, getting the boys and some of my buddies all together. We're thinking about going. And I don't know, maybe the president will want to go again. It was such a big hit last year in that heavyweight match. We'll see what the president wants to do.
Huge hit. We'll see. All right. Thank you, Chairman Jordan. Godspeed. Merry Christmas. Zorhan Mandami, communist, gonna commie. Everybody thought that maybe he'd go based because he met with Trump. No, baby. No. We'll get to that in just 1 second. 120 Life. If you want to save your life, you may want to get out of New York. We'll be traveling again this week. We have an event with the New York Young Republicans Club, and so we will have to be in Zorhan Mandami's city. All the more reason to drink our 120 Life to stay as healthy as possible. It is going to get bad. It's going to turn into Gotham all over again. Keep your health up, no matter where you live. High blood pressure is a real killer. It's something, obviously, that we have on this show as we watch some of the evil forces trying to tear our movement apart. Keep your blood pressure down. Boy, let me tell you what, 1 in 2 Americans, 50% of Americans have high blood pressure. This is something that is very bad. There are some incredible ingredients blended together in this drink that can lower that blood pressure naturally, and it is guaranteed, or your money back. And this is why thousands of health professionals and doctors recommend 120 Life to their patients. It is also delicious. This holiday season, our listeners can get 20% off their entire order at 120life.com, code Benny. 120life.com, code Benny. Go to 120life.com, use my code Benny for 20% off. Try it risk-free for 2 weeks. If you don't see your blood pressure come down, you'll get a free refund. Come on. It's the time of year. You probably need this. Zorhan Mandami is out with communist policies. The first policy that made me extremely sad was that he's not going to be clearing homeless encampments any longer in New York. This is something that is a real problem in big cities, and it is a problem because it is depressing to the soul. It's called the broken windows theory. We were going to have Rudy Giuliani on the show, but we had a really bad technical difficulty, and so we can't have it. But Rudy Giuliani is the guy who brought forward on a national level and popularized the broken windows theory. That says if you have a neighborhood where homes are allowed to effectively go vacant or turn into drug houses that have broken windows, that signals to criminals and the criminal element that it's fair game. You can just break every window in the neighborhood. You can commit any crime you want in the neighborhood. You can just run wild. You have to keep the windows, plate glass from shattering, the homes from collapsing, the streets from becoming in ill repair, the bridges from not falling in on themselves. You have to be able to do this in order to keep up the esprit de corps of your city, in order to signal to the world that this is a functional city. If things begin to turn to ruin, well, then ruinous agents in our society, which are homeless, deegans, degenerates, violent criminals, will take over. And that's what you've seen, obviously, in New York. A couple of high-profile cases like Daniel Penny. And that's what you've seen, obviously, in some other sunken places like Kensington, Philadelphia. The single saddest place I've ever been in my life is Kensington, Philadelphia. You've never seen a poorer example of the human condition. And a bunch of people like sitting around looking like zombies, just waiting to die. Open sores, open wounds, fentanyl, just fent off their asses, out of their minds, just sitting there like zombies. Oh, it's critical. For me to see that, this is why I'm totally in favor of them yeeting the drug boats. Because that's chemical warfare. They're engaging in warfare in our country. You study fentanyl, what it is. Fentanyl is a mix of 19 different chemicals. Has to be done in a laboratory environment. It is a chemical weapon. I'm also not in favor of marijuana dispensaries on every corner. I don't want that. But like, that's a plant that grows. Okay, I'm not making excuses for it. I don't want my kids to be potheads. You shouldn't want your kids to be potheads. But it's something totally different when it's a pill that is created in a laboratory that is a chemical weapon, effectively, against your population. This is what the streets of Kensington look like. It is so depressing. This is why, of course, you can't have this, because somebody sees one zombie. They literally call them zombies when you're there. They see one zombie, and that inspires more people to come and use fentanyl, and more people and more people. You have to shut it down. You have to clean it out. So Zorhan Madami saying in America's greatest city, I think maybe some people will be angry at me saying that, in a great American city, New York City, the Empire City, one of the most iconoclast American city when it comes to landmarks and movies and so on, that it's just going to be littered with homeless encampments now. Madami decision to end Adams' administration homeless encampment sweeps will cause quality of life nightmare. Things will, like this happened in Washington, D.C., where every public park became a homeless shelter. Every public park became a place where people were pissing on themselves, using drugs, like walking around with broken-ended glass bottles, threatening mothers, children, just open degeneracy. And what did it do? It drives out the population that is productive. You are benefiting the parasitic population. It's the question that you should ask yourself. I know I'm going off on this topic, but it's one that I really care about. Because it's about like the uplifting of the human spirit or the destruction of the human spirit. When you walk by these shelters, when you walk by these massive encampments that are in public parks, what that is saying is that your city has decided to back the parasitic population of sunken, demonically possessed, broken people And man, you look at it, some of it, it's a spiritual battle that a lot of these people are fighting. I mean, it's dark, it's spiritual. You go to the Kensington, man, you go to that energy. You go down to some of these larger homeless encampments, you'll see it's spirit. I mean, these people will like straight up attack you. They'll come here to, you do something that offends them, or you just walk by, or you look at them the wrong way. They're there to kill you. What this signals to the population of any city is that the city chooses them over you. And what's the you? Well, the you are the mother and child, father, who are here to make a city work. Like, if you don't have any more population, as we covered with Ukraine, if you don't have any more population, well, your city is going to collapse. In fact, the easiest way to see which cities are which cities are doing well and which cities are not, is not P&Ls. It's not debt ratios. It's not GDP even. It's what percentage of change has there been in 5-year-olds going to preschool. If your city is not growing with children going to school, then your city is about to die. And we've put up the chart before, but as you can see pretty obviously, the cities that are dying across the nation, Portland, Oregon, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Philadelphia, and this is going to come as no shock to you, they're all blue cities where the percentage of 5-year-olds in preschool have collapsed. Why? Because those cities have made themselves unsafe for parents who raise their children in it. And I don't care how left-wing you are, it's bred in your bone, it's in your blood, it's in your DNA, that when you have a child, you're going to protect them and you're not going to march them through homeless encampments. You're not going to put them in unsafe environments, no matter who you are, how you vote. And so this is how you get civilizational collapse. This is how you get collapse in these cities. And Zorhan Mandami out with one of his first policies saying we are going to promote not the family, not the mother, not the innocent child. We're not going to protect the parks for them. The parks and public spaces and play places, they are going to be for the piss-soaked degenerates and parasites. And that is incredibly sad. Zorhan Mandami also is giving advice to criminal aliens as to how to avoid ICE in new video message saying he's going to stand up to the feds. You knew this was coming. Here we go. Mayoral-elect Mandami offered advice to illegal aliens on how to evade ICE. Know your rights. Let's go.
Last weekend, ICE attempted to raid Canal Street and detain our immigrant neighbors. As mayor, I'll protect the rights of every single New Yorker, and that includes the more than 3 million immigrants who call this city their home. But we can all stand up to ICE if you know your rights. If you encounter ICE, these are the things that every New Yorker should know. First, ICE cannot enter into private spaces like your home, school, or a private area of your workplace without a judicial warrant signed by a judge. That looks like this. If ICE does not have a judicial warrant signed by a judge, you have the right to say, I do not consent to entry, and the right to keep your door closed. Sometimes ICE will show you paperwork that looks like this and tell you that they have the right to arrest you. That is false. ICE is legally allowed to lie to you, but you have the right to remain silent. If you're being detained, you may always ask, am I free to go, repeatedly until they answer you. You are legally allowed to film ICE as long as you do not interfere with an arrest. It is important to remain calm during any interaction with ICE or law enforcement. Do not impede their investigation, resist arrest, or run. One last thing. New Yorkers have a constitutional right to protest, and when I'm mayor, we will protect that right. New York will always welcome immigrants, and I will fight each and every day to protect, support, and celebrate our immigrant brothers and sisters.
So what you saw there is him aiding and abetting criminals against federal law enforcement. What he said and did there in explaining and talking through in that video how to ensure that you were able to sneak past or hide yourself from ICE, he's telling the criminal aliens, like, hide yourself in your home, lock your doors. Unless they have a warrant, they can't get in. That's how you evade the feds. This is worse than any type of insurrection that happened on January 6th. This is a greater threat or attack on federal law enforcement. This, of course, makes their lives far more dangerous. And it's being done so from some of the highest platforms in the land. The mayor of New York is an incredibly powerful position. The left is doing this with constant regularity because the right refuses to punish them. We can't even vote to censure Democrats like McKinney, who physically assaulted ICE agents, other Democrats like Plaskett, who worked with Jeffrey Epstein in order for Jeffrey Epstein to effectively be a member of Congress, ask questions during hearings about Donald Trump. Republicans don't have the capacity to vote to even censure, much less kick out of Congress like they did George Santos, but to censure these Democrats. We'll see what happens with Ilhan Omar. This will be actually a great test. A lot of the Republicans have been waking up. I think that Republicans are getting a little spooked about some of the polling, as they ought right to be. Heading into the midterms, obviously we do have approximately 1 year before the elections in November of 2026. But ladies and gentlemen, the golden era hangs in the balance. Advantage Gold is the gold company that we use. Advantage Gold keeps us locked in with precious metals that have done great in our portfolio. Let's just say it. We're not here to brag. We're just here to talk about the actual value of gold itself in your portfolio. I'm not saying like liquidate everything, turn into gold. This is not like advice. You don't want me to do your taxes. You will go to jail. What I'm telling you is that this is just something that is a solid earner and has always been. And it's done great in my portfolio this year. I've diversified into gold. You can do that. If you have a 401k, IRA, retirement account, it's your choice. Just sit back and watch the winning happen at one of America's #1 rated precious metals company. Text Advantage Gold today, right now, 85545. Text the word Benny, Benny, to 85545. You'll instantly get a free gold investment kit, a $49 value, sent right to your inbox. Don't wait while the gold rally keeps breaking records. Text Benny to 85545 right now. Find out how you will be able to profit and help protect your savings with Advantage Gold. President Trump saying that he's going to rename the Kennedy Center after himself while taking center stage at the honors show. I also want to he was at the Kennedy Center twice in 2 days. I want to get that clip about the FIFA, President Trump at FIFA. It's pretty funny. Donald Trump did the Kennedy Center honors. He honored a bunch of legendary actors and artists. President Trump made a joke about the revamped Kennedy Center that he is completely renovating right now, performing arts venue awards. This place is hot, he said, and he might name it the Trump Kennedy Center. I mean, the Kennedy Center. Sorry. Terribly embarrassing. President Trump. Here you go.
I'll tell you what, the Trump Kennedy Center, Kennedy Center, I'm sorry. Each of these terrific honorees has a story of success and triumph that could only have happened in the United States of America. Our country is back.
He is right at home in that hosting role.
There is.
Sylvester Stallone, Kiss, and George Strait were just some that were honored during the ceremony. Trump called them, quote, the most accomplished and renowned class of Kennedy Center honorees ever assembled.
Trump at his best, ladies and gentlemen. We want Florida to stay at its best. Francisco Suarez, who is the current mayor of Miami, is at limit for his term, and there is a new election tomorrow, December 9th, for the critical city of Miami that has a lot of good things going for it. There's a far left winger who is trying to run and ruin all of that. Emilio Gonzalez is set to stop her. We're going to check in with Emilio live right now. Emilio, welcome to the program. How's the race going?
Thanks, Benny. The race is going phenomenal.
Yes.
Our side is fired up. We're motivated. We're excited, and we're going to deliver a big victory tomorrow.
So how is polling looking right now? I know that it is a tight race. Obviously, we just had Jim Jordan on. These are tough midterms. There's obviously prevailing winds against the party in power because the weight of governorship of leadership rests on their shoulders. So what does the polling actually look like?
Well, the polling is actually all over the map. People down here tend not to tell pollsters what they really think until election day. Democrats generally vote by mail. Republicans show up and vote in person. So we're keeping up with our Democratic opponents. This has also turned into a very nasty partisan race, which they've never been here, quite frankly. The Democrats want this race in the worst way. This is President Trump's state. This is the city that will host his library. And obviously, they want this to be a major victory for them.
Yeah. Do you think that they could cancel Trump's library if they get in power and probably muddy that job up?
Well, maybe not cancel, but they can certainly put enough obstacles on there to make it a heavy lift. And what we have, as you well know, all the major cities in the United States that are run by progressive Democrats are disasters. Pick one. They're all going down the tubes. And we're in Miami. We're not going to let that happen. We are dedicated to keeping our city the city of the future. Our city is the city of freedom. Remember, people in Miami come from countries where elections aren't allowed. So everybody's very motivated that this Miami is going to stay Miami and not fall into the same category of places like UCLA, San Francisco, Boston, Chicago. It's not going to happen here, Benny. Not as long as I'm the mayor.
So can you give me the greatest delineation between you and your opponent here? Forgive me because I haven't followed the race as closely as we should have on this program. Miami, obviously a critical city for the future and growth of Florida, and also for election integrity and making sure that huge population center is run effectively so that we're attracting more people to the state. So we care a lot about Miami. We're in Miami a lot. But give me a breakdown between what does your opponent want and what are your policies?
Look, the biggest difference is my opponent has not really run anything. My opponent has been a county commissioner. She has no outside work. She's popped in and out of government under the Obama administration. I think the Clinton administration as well. She's never really run anything. So she is going to be a doctrinaire Democratic politician that's going to read from the same playbook as other liberal Democratic big city mayors. I, on the other hand, I've been in charge of something since I was 20 years old. I'm a retired Army officer. I've run organizations with 18,000 employees. I used to be the city manager in Miami for 2 years. So the difference is one of executive leadership. It's also one of perspective and ideology. I'm about taking care of our residents. I think she's about making sure that the National Democratic Party is happy with taking back Miami. It's power over the people. And right now, I'm representing the hardworking people of Miami. She's more interested in attaining powers to see what she can do with it to promote the far left agenda.
Well, it looks like the race is really close right now. Here's the tally of in-person voting per Vote Hub. You are winning in-person voting. What's your takeaway message? What's your takeaway message to the voters of Miami here in conclusion, Emilio?
Yeah, we're just not going to let up. Miami is not going to be San Francisco or New York. Miami is Miami. Miami is a land of the free. It's a land. It's the city where President Trump will have his library. There's a reason why they call Florida the free state of Florida, right? And we're just not going to do it. We're gonna fight for our principles, our families, our communities, and we're going to let the world and the nation know that Miami has fought back and that Miami will win. Miami is a city of hardworking, noble, honest people, and we're not going to be taken advantage of by a national political climate.
This is something that we would very much like to see pushed back on. There were obviously blue victories in blue states, but this is a red state, damn it. And even Miami has a Republican mayor right now. He's done a great job. It seems like a really great dude. He's been on the show a couple times. And so we hope that you carry on in that legacy. Thank you very much. Go out to show up and vote in person. Emilio Gonzalez, Republican candidate for mayor of Miami. You can follow him
Benny.
right here.
Thanks, Benny. That's what it's all about. Let's vote.
Godspeed, sir.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, since we had the candidate on the show, let's go over to Poly Market, check the polls right now. Checking the polls. Oh, no. Oh, no. Look at this. This race has really, really widened since November. And this is since, of course, there was a win for Mondami in New York, and then the gubernatorial races in Virginia and New Jersey. And so that sort of like blew open the spread here. You can see his opponent, Ellen Higgins Longhouse, is here at 95%. Emilio Gonzalez at 3%. This is just likelihoods here. The polls are very, very close, but this is the betting market, what the betting market thinks based on the winds of change in the country. And so I suppose we will see. The state of Florida has excellent election technology. Very, very good. We've got some big breaking stories on that. Maybe that'll be the show tomorrow. Like digging in there about what we learned with the Venezuelan election technology and Sparkmatic and the rigging of elections. Crazy. But nonetheless, an underdog here. I think Republicans are going to be underdogs in this midterm election season. All the more reason to lock in and fight and stop blowing each other up. Like, frankly, stop trying to like rip at and destroy the coalition that delivered our movement to the White House and that kept the communists at bay. We are truly one election away from a party that has become sociopathic in their desire to change America forever, to harm the thing that is our birthright, which is freedom in this country and a stable and functional nation to leave to our children. That is our motivation, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll see if that 3%, we can flip that into a miracle. Thank you, Poly Market. All right. Is there any other... Trump regrets pardoning Rep. Henry Cuellar after Dems announced he's running for re-election. Oh, no. Ugh. This is one that I can't get my head around. All right, we'll do this, and then we'll do the Trump dance. Oh, man. Trump pardoned a Democrat from a dark blue district in Texas. And this is a guy who's famous for actually getting robbed in D.C. He not only got carjacked, he got his sushi stolen from him. Extra insults there. Democrat announced he's running for re-election now. President Trump said he was angry about this. Well, I mean, I just don't know why. Why is this guy getting a pardon in the first place? That don't make any sense. I don't know. Somebody's going to have to explain this. President Trump expressed he was angry with regret over his eyebrow-raising pardon of a Democrat representative, Henry Cuellar, on Wednesday, after the politician quickly confirmed that he's running for re-election in his Democrat Senate, his Democrat congressional seat in Texas. He's 70 years old. He sits in one of the House Democrats' most competitive seats. He faced federal bribery, money laundering, and foreign agent charges for allegedly taking $600,000 from an Azerbaijani state-owned oil company and Mexican bank. So he's like a total scumbag. Why did he get a pardon? I don't know. Only a short time after signing the pardon, Cuellar announced that he will be running for Congress again in the great state of Texas. As a Democrat, Trump raged in a lengthy Truth Social post, such a lack of loyalty, something that Texas voters and Henry's daughters will not like. Oh well, next time, no more Mr. Nice Guy. Trump's pardon of Cuellar, a rare and moderately pro-life Democrat, has perplexed many Republicans. Cuellar's seat in Texas' 28th congressional district is rated as one of 6 House Democrat-held toss-up seats by election handicapper Cook Political Report. By pardoning the Texas Democrat, who was indicted by Biden-era Justice Department, Trump seemingly undermined a golden opportunity for Republicans to pick up midterm election seat. Bad news. Bad news. I gotta be smart with these. Gotta be smart with these pardons. I do not understand this one. I have no idea. I do know that President Trump, during the FIFA World Cup selection process, did a number of hysterical things that, I don't know, might be a palate cleanser to this pardon, which seems like totally nightmarish and is already backfiring. When he brought his famous Tic Tacs in to show the head of FIFA the difference in the Tic Tac size for sale under Joe Biden versus him. And then he danced away to the village people. Village people were brought in to perform. And President Trump doing the Trump dance. President Trump also picking America's place in the FIFA World Cup selection process. I don't really understand all of this, and I'm never going to call it football. It's not football. We're in America here. And this is Donald Trump making his pick here. I don't know if we have the actual. Do we have the actual clip? Yeah. All right. Let's see. People were saying this is the funniest clip of last week. Let's roll it.
Oh, México! Felicidades. México, Grupo A1, Presidenta. Grupo A1 por México. Muchas felicidades. President Trump, up to you. Don't forget to mingle, to mix.
I think I know what this is going to be now.
Everything.
But let's see.
Are you sure? Are you sure this is the ball? You can still change it if you want.
Does he know something that I don't know? Let's give it a shot, John.
Let's give it a shot. Let's give it a shot. I agree. Okay.
This is shocking.
United States of America. Excellent. Group D1. Can I ask all the three of you to lift like this on your chest, in front of your chest like this? Yeah, the name of the country. We'll give a nice photo. Excellent. And if I can ask you to come in front here for another photo with the paper.
All right. Not calling it football. President Trump clearly having a good time there, and the Kennedy Center honors. We want President Trump to get back and locked in. Obviously, the America First movement is facing some major headwinds, some major breakdown. I don't know why exactly the forces of evil have been so successful at ripping the party apart. I don't understand some of these. I don't understand some of the pardons. I don't understand Marjorie Taylor Greene's actions. I don't understand some of the internal sabotage. President Trump obviously loving here classically at using his Tic Tacs at Turning Point USA's annual conference in Phoenix, America Fest, which is coming up in 2 weeks, ladies and gentlemen. Sold out, 30,000 people. It's going to be an incredible event. Very honored to be there, and we're going to be doing a lot there. President Trump, unmatched. But we have to get the gang back together, and we have to stay focused. And you have to, we have to win. You have to see exactly what the left has in store for this nation, for our children, the rise of assassination culture, and the moment that we're in. You got to know what time it is. And so this, ladies and gentlemen, is what we're going to be focused on over the next year. We're going to be working very, very hard. We're going to be in the trenches. We're going to be grinding, and we're going to make sure that we are preserving an American future that we would all want. What the left has in store is very, very dangerous. I'm sick of the distractions. Ukraine, Israel, infighting, tired of it. I say enough. Ladies and gentlemen, an American future for you from American Financing. Our friends at American Financing want to make sure that you are out of slavery. Slavery is high interest credit card debt that, of course, can cripple any family that is intended for you to actually never stop paying for these loans when interest rates are at 20 and 30%. Those are usury rates. I hate it for you. Huge numbers of American families are suffering under this style of debt. You should get out from under it and do it now. You can reconsolidate your high-interest credit card debt using the equity in your home. You can get excellent rates, like in the low fives at the Fed's fund rates. It's a game changer for people who are paying these sky-high credit cards. Do it today. Call American Financing at 888-528-1219. That's 888-528-1219. AmericanFinancing.net/Benny. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our verse of the day, Christian verse of the day, Christmas-themed verse of the day, from Luke 1:14. And you will have joy and gladness, and many will rejoice at his birth. The whole world stops in silent night and rejoices in the birth of Christ as our Lord and Savior, the armor of God that is here to guide us, especially in this holy season. March with us, ladies and gentlemen, on to victory and into a blessed Christmas season. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
Truth gon' be faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salt in all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salt in all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.